welcome to the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast, where we talk with entrepreneurs, founders, and leaders at B2B services, tech, and SaaS companies to learn the systems and processes they've used to create success for their business. We'll also learn from marketing and sales experts to provide insights to help you grow your business. I'm your host, Mark Osborne, and the podcast is brought to you by Modern Revenue Strategies and their 10x ROI B2B growth guarantee. Schedule a free diagnostic call to learn the fastest path to double your B2B revenues in just 90 days. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast. I'm your host, Mark Osborne, and today I'm very excited to welcome my guest, Scott Aaron. I'm going to read this, make sure I get his bio correct. Scott is co-founder of The Time to Grow. He's an award-winning online marketer, a 4-time best-selling author, a top podcaster with over 750,000 downloads on iTunes, and a speaker known for turning LinkedIn connections into traffic, millions of dollars in business revenue, and strong personal brands. Scott, welcome to the show.
Well, Mark, grateful to be here and looking forward to diving into everything that we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. So that's quite a mouthful in your bio, a lot of great things you got going on there.
Yeah.
So why don't you just sort of tell our audience, what do you do there at The Time to Grow?
So my wife and I founded The Time to Grow almost 7 years ago, and we specifically work with coaches, consultants, and service professionals how to build their authority with their business, helping people grow and scale, having reoccurring revenue streams, whether that's a SaaS product, whether that's a membership, a course, a program, group coaching, one-on-one, making sure that everybody has the foundational pieces in place to work smarter and not harder. And as you can see behind me, my wife and I just released our first co-authored book called The Feel Good Business Model. And that's our most recent book to hit bestseller on Amazon. And it's about our principle of how we've built our business, streamlined our business to only have to work 3 days a week. So we're working smarter, not harder, and outsourcing the right things and feel good in growing the business that you have. And, again, I think everybody out there has an authoritative figure to be shown and shined on and offline. And that's what we specialize in showing people how to do.
That's fantastic, Scott. So we're going to get into a lot of those things because I know our audience will really want to hear about that. And just as you and I were talking about sort of before the show started, the audience here is primarily sort of founders, CEOs at kind of early stage, but not startup companies that are in sort of boutique professional services or B2B SaaS and tech. And so I know you've worked with lots of businesses, but as we're talking today, I'd love to hear some examples specifically for these types of businesses that are really going after sort of large average contract value, which means lots of decision makers, and then lots of decision makers means long timetables. So love to hear some of those specific examples. But I know that you do a lot on LinkedIn, and some of our listeners might be thinking, well, people don't really buy sort of large contracts from people that they meet on LinkedIn. Tell us about how you've seen that work for sort of large scale contracts and sort of professional services or B2B settings where it's more than just an individual coach working with another individual, but really sort of a business or an enterprise decision, and how you've seen that work within the sort of LinkedIn platform.
Yeah, I mean, that's specifically what we teach actually on LinkedIn. It's our main platform. Not saying and not downplaying Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and everything else that's out there, but 88% of the conglomerate of people on LinkedIn are decision makers, and it's primarily all B2B. So we've recently helped some clients, two in particular. One has a SaaS subscription. The other has continuing education credits within a specific field. The one that has the continuing education actually 5x'd her revenue from 2022 into 2020, from 2022 to 23, and then from 23 to 24, she 5x'd her revenue working with us. The one that has the SaaS product actually just scored two five-figure contracts from LinkedIn. One was around 12K and the other was around 50K. And this is what we teach people because when you're on a platform that is filled with decision makers, and you can clearly define, okay, from a job title or industry or profession standpoint, because LinkedIn is a giant search engine. That's why there's a big search bar at the top left. You can specifically connect, message, and build relationships with the people that you actually need to speak to make that decision. Now, what I'll say is this. The average income that someone makes on LinkedIn from just an individual standpoint is between $75,000 to $100,000 a year. So from an individual standpoint, a coaching and consulting standpoint, that would be great for that. But every Fortune 500 company in the world has a presence on LinkedIn. And it's the only social media platform that actually can hold that statistic. So for the founder, that person that's in B2B that's looking to, lock in some large scale contracts and connecting with those decision makers, LinkedIn is the platform that you should be spending the most time on and with. And full transparency and honesty, if you gave it a full year of consistent posting, consistent connecting, consistent relationship building and marketing and branding, it'll transform your business without a doubt.
Wow. So some great statistics on the platform. And I think a lot of our, sort of audience knows, that there's a lot of business on LinkedIn. But we know in B2B, it's all about credibility and trust. And so what are some of the sort of techniques and strategies that you've seen be successful for, people that are trying to build that rapport and build that credibility and trust, oftentimes starting, as strangers, but using the platform? How do they do that effectively? And I'm not asking you to give away your secrets. Obviously, we want people to connect with you, to sort of hire you to really learn how. But what are some ways that you've seen be successful?
Well, for us, what we always suggest is let your content actually position you as the expert. So you have to give in order to get. And I think that's the big thing. So if someone wants to be positioned as an expert or as a go-to resource, let your light shine. I think when people live in that lack mentality mindset where they're like, you know what? I don't want to give away all the keys to the castle. If I give too much value, they're not going to want to work with me or want to continue the conversation, which is actually the opposite. When you don't give enough, you're not giving enough of a reason for that person to take the next step. When you give without expecting anything back in return, and you seek to leave people better than the way that you found them, not only is that going to build that bridge between you and the person that doesn't know you, but it's going to have them continue to engage in your content because something that you and I were talking about in the pre-show is that, just the sales process, how it takes longer and longer and longer to bring that person into your sphere, to get them into a decision. One of the quickest ways to shorten that gap is to provide that relevant, educational, and information-based content on LinkedIn that is directed towards that ideal client or ideal business avatar that you're looking to obviously connect with. The second thing I would say is making sure that you build as many business alliances as possible. I always talk about the two types of connections that you should have on LinkedIn are potential ideal clients and business allies. Referral marketing is one of the best forms of marketing, and lead gen for that matter, because when you are taking the advice or the suggestions of a trusted source that, you should connect with this person, you should reach out to this person, they have exactly what you're looking for. Again, the skepticism that a lot of people may have completely gets flushed down the toilet because they've gotten that information from a trusted source, so they're more likely to reach out than not. The other thing I would say outside of building a network of trusted allies is building social proof. And the way that that can be showcased is on your LinkedIn profile. And whether that's the featured content section where you can highlight maybe some testimonials that you have from your website. It could be a video testimonial that you maybe have on your YouTube channel. But also, if you participate in the LinkedIn collaborative articles and actually contribute to those articles that are within your sphere, and I would say your knowledge of a specific industry, you can earn a top voice community badge, which when someone goes to your profile, it says, top voice badge in XYZ topic or industry. That's immediate credibility to that person that doesn't know you. And I would say the third and final thing within your LinkedIn profile that really, really positions you as an expert is the recommendation section. I always tell people that what others speak to and say about your credibility and the results that you get for others could speak 10 times louder than you telling someone that yourself. And that is the
Yeah.
truth. That's why when someone wants to go to a restaurant, instead of reading a review online, what do? They go to a trusted source. Hey, how's this sushi place? Have you ever been there? And you're
Yeah.
more likely than not to go there. So when you're on LinkedIn, you should be asking people within your network that you're connected to, that you know, like, and trust. Maybe you've worked with before. Maybe you've had work history. Maybe you currently work with them. Maybe they're a past or a current client. Maybe a family member or friend. Ask them to write you a recommendation speaking to your business credibility and business knowledge. So when someone does populate on your LinkedIn profile, they see that you're positioned as a go-to person and a trusted resource for others. And that's why you could see back here, my wife made me this plaque that says 500 received recommendations. So anyone that goes to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see close to 520 written recommendations that I've accrued over the last number of years. And that's not to egoically position myself better than anyone else. It's just to prove that I've gotten a lot of results for a lot of people and I've helped a lot of people grow the business that they want.
That's great. There's so many things there to sort of unpack, and I really want to call out a few of them. One of
Yeah.
the things that we talk about in the B2B space is, 95% of your market isn't in market at any given time. There's really only kind of 5% of your market is actively looking for a solution like yours at any given time. So what do you do for the rest of that 95% of folks? You build that credibility and you build that trust with them so that when they are in market for a solution like you offer, you'll be part of that consideration set and hopefully at the top of that consideration set. The other thing that, we do a lot of work with clients, helping them to activate their existing clients for faster renewals, larger upsells, more referrals. And so often we see that, companies, they really just don't even have a referral program. They never ask for recommendations. And I'm sure you didn't get to that 500 by not asking. One of the things that we see is just building a system that consistently asks for a recommendation, a referral, or some other connection can be really transformative in terms of the volume that you get and the impact that it makes on your business. So some really great stuff there.
Yeah. I mean, something that I learned from one of my first business coaches, Jeffrey Combs, is you have to ASK to GET. You have to ask in order to get.
That's
So I
right.
always, and I also tell people, whenever my wife do any of our workshops, we do Q&A sessions on the final day. And we always say, what questions do you have? If you don't ask it, you're not going to get the answer. So that's the same advice that I give to people that are looking to really strategically use LinkedIn to build their business or their credibility or their exposure or their visibility. Ask,
Yeah.
even in your content, ask for people to engage. Everyone says, how do I get more people to engage? Well, are you asking them to comment below? If you're not, they're not going to. But if you simply say, what are your thoughts? Comment below. Now you're engaging people. The same thing. Ask for recommendations. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? They're not going to give you one. What's the best thing? You're going to receive one.
Yeah. That's great. Well, and also like it, when you ask for referrals or you build that into sort of part of your business proposition, it sort of requires you to be your best, because if you sort of open and say, I'm going to do such a good job for you that I'm going to ask you to refer other folks to me, or I'm going to ask you to leave me a recommendation, then they sort of know it's coming, and you've made a promise that you can now deliver on and do such a good job that you're happy to and sort of proud and not bashful about asking for that recommendation or that referral, whatever it might be. And then they feel good about making that recommendation or making that referral because you delivered on the promise of sort of superior results for them.
Yep, absolutely.
So I want to pivot a little bit to kind of what can be a controversial topic. There are our audience probably has heard of this, but if they haven't, just so that they know, there are ways to use tools to enhance what you do on LinkedIn. And some of those are, kind of against the terms of service on LinkedIn. Some of them kind of skirt the rules a little bit.
I
What's your
I
opinion on
just
that?
wrote an article on this.
So let's talk about it. I'd love to, as someone that spends so much time and delivers so much success on LinkedIn, what are your thoughts about using some of those tools, and um, tell us about it.
Well, what it's funny that you brought this up. I wrote an article about this last week on my LinkedIn newsletter, and it was the three most common violations of the LinkedIn user agreement that are getting people blocked and kicked off of LinkedIn. So,
What are those? What are those three most common?
well, what I'll say is, in everyone's defense, no one actually reads the user agreement when they
That's
click
right.
that little box. So, like when we sign up for any social media
That's
platform,
right.
we like anything, we just click the box just so we can sign up, right?
Right.
So, the three biggest are: number one, you cannot have anyone log in to your account um, and act as you. So a lot of people bring on like a virtual assistant and they'll say, "Hey, can you just do my outreach for me and log in and this, that, or the other?" So if LinkedIn finds out that you're having someone else log in as you, they can actually delete your account.
Okay. So that's
I
against.
would say, yeah, I would say side to that, that runs parallel right along that line is falling for the trap that a lot of some of the marketing companies out there say, "Hey, listen, we can automate your connection and messaging process with an automated software tool that connects right to your LinkedIn profile. And you can put in the parameters and we stay under the radar. We don't send over 100 connection requests a week. We
Right.
don't send more than 10 messages a day." But that's all fine, well, and good. But one of the caveats is that you're actually not allowed to support or use any automated tools that
Right.
connect to your profile that connect and message for you. So that's probably the biggest violation
Yeah.
that I see people doing. The other is any extension. So there's a lot of people that use Chrome extensions that actually attach to your LinkedIn profile that
Hmm.
scrapes the terms of service. Maybe it's scraping email addresses or
Wow.
doing profile analyzations. If LinkedIn finds out that you have some sort of extension that is scraping the profiles or the terms of use of LinkedIn itself, that
Hmm.
can also get you kicked off the platform. And I would say the other one and the final one, and this is something that I had to adjust myself, is you cannot claim that you are an accredited LinkedIn trainer without getting permission from LinkedIn.
Huh.
So anyone that goes on to my LinkedIn profile, you don't see anywhere where I call myself a LinkedIn trainer. I don't call myself a LinkedIn coach. I don't call myself anything more than what I am.
Hmm.
I do social media. I show people how to leverage LinkedIn. So there's a lot of people out there that call themselves LinkedIn coaches or LinkedIn experts or LinkedIn consultants.
Yeah.
And if they haven't gotten written consent from LinkedIn, and LinkedIn just decides, and they have a whole team that does this, that kind of goes through the profiles, and it's very easy for them to find them because all LinkedIn has to do is go into the search engine, type in LinkedIn coach, and guess what they find? Every single person that mentions LinkedIn coach in their profile, then they'll do their due diligence. They'll run their information in their database, see if they got permission from that person. If not, they can delete your account.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I'm really big on staying aligned with, yes, people call me a LinkedIn guru, they call me a LinkedIn expert, but I am not an accredited LinkedIn coach. I have a process of generating leads, marketing, branding, and also showcasing your expertise using LinkedIn as the platform and how to do so.
Interesting. So, given that it's against the terms of service, do you think people are out there kind of bending the rules?
Oh, 100, yeah, thousands of people. Yeah, I see it every day
Do
because
you,
if you've ever gotten one of those 18 paragraph long
Oh yeah.
drunkalog verbal vomit messages, as
Yeah,
soon as
yeah.
like you accept someone's connection request, yeah, they're using an automated service. And
That's
it's so funny because I'll challenge those people. I'll say, did you write this up that quickly, or are you using an automated software? They'll never admit it. They're like, oh, I typed it up myself, which means they're probably one of the fastest typers in the world, which
right.
is probably not true.
Yeah, that's right. So how can people, if without violating the terms of service, get leverage out of LinkedIn that doesn't, you said yourself that, you've built your business in such a way that you're only working 3 days a week. How can you, get leverage out of the platform without using some of those automated tools?
Yeah, so I have something called the 20-minute a day methodology.
Okay,
So if someone was to just literally just block out 20 minutes a day, Monday through Friday, and you do three things, maybe four. Um, it's not going to take you long to get traction on LinkedIn. It happens very quickly. So the first thing is making sure that you're sending connections. And I alluded to this a little bit earlier that within LinkedIn, you can only send 100 connection requests in a given 7-day period, Monday through Sunday. You go over that, you get restricted. If you do it enough, they're going to not allow you to send connections anymore. So make sure that you stay under the 100 per week. So just for example purposes, if you're sending out connections Monday through Friday, I don't believe in working on the weekends. That's for personal time.
sure.
And you send maybe 15 connections a day, Monday through Friday. You're sending about 75 a week, and you're sending them to targeted people. So
Yeah,
you're sending them to potential ideal clients, decision makers, or power partners or business allies.
yeah,
Now, of the 100 that you're going to send, you're probably going to have somewhere between a 25 to 35% acceptance rate.
okay.
So, but again, I'll take that all day long. If I'm getting
Sure.
25 to 35 new connections a week, that's between 100 and 100 into 140 new connections per month, which I'm completely fine with because those are all potential people to collaborate or bring into my business. Now, outside of the connecting, you then want to choose 5 people to message per day organically. And you just type a very simple message, hey Mark, great to be connected to you. I noticed that we shared a background or have a business commonality in XYZ industry, profession, or interest. So you mentioned, we call it the bridge. You mentioned a connection point between you and the other person that doesn't know you, where that person will say, oh, that makes sense why this person's reaching out to me. They're not looking to sell me or pitch me. They're actually looking to connect. And then you finish it with, would love to hop on a call or a Zoom to learn about how we can support one another here on LinkedIn. Anytime for a call or a Zoom this or next week. That's literally the message that I send every single person. Now, people will either say yes, no, or nothing at all.
Sure.
The goal that people should have out of the 5 messages that you send a day, 5 days a week, so 25 messages, a 1 out of 5 response a day, which means you'll be booking 5 calls per week, 20 calls per month. Again, even if you're terrible at sales and you have, say, a 20% closing rate, 80% failure rate, that's 4 new sales a month, which I think any person that's looking to grow a business will take that all day long. So that's the second thing. The third and final thing is, I would say, providing relevant, informational, and education-based content. And you want to do it in three different forms. Now, unlike other social media platforms, you do not have to post every day on LinkedIn. 99% of the LinkedIn population posts less than one time a week. So if you're posting at least once or maybe twice a week, you're in the top 1% of the LinkedIn population. Now,
Wow.
there's 2 different posting schedules. I call one the bookend, and I call the other one, I would say, what people think works. Now,
Okay.
I'm not going to deny either or. The bookend is something that I follow. So that's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So Mondays and Fridays are your bookends. The books in between is Wednesday. The one
Mhm.
that people report is the best is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because what they feel is Monday, no one really wants to engage or post content because they're just getting back from the weekend, which I find completely untrue.
Uh-huh.
And never post on Friday because people are just thinking about the weekend. Some of my top engaging content happens either on Friday or Monday. So I
Wow.
just want to kind of disprove that. But I would say to the person that's watching or listening to this, try both and see which one of those 2 posting schedules does best for you.
Yeah.
Now, Within those 3 days, there's 3 different types of content that you're going to want to post. One should be a video piece. Second should be a market research poll. And third should be a long form piece of content. Now, Monday is typically the best day to do a video. So that could be a 2 to 4 minute recorded Zoom that you upload right to LinkedIn. It could be just a very micro piece of content, maybe 30 to 60 seconds from your phone and then uploading it to LinkedIn. If you like to do trainings, it could be a LinkedIn Live, like I like to do on Mondays and Thursdays for about a 20-minute training on a specific topic within your industry. But you should be educating, informing, and giving people tangible tips and takeaways. As far as that middle post, that Wednesday post, that's when you're wanting to do your market research. So using the LinkedIn poll feature, some of the best engagement I get is from my LinkedIn polls because I ask pain point questions or relevant questions to my network to actually find out what people are struggling with, what they need help with, and what I can educate them further on. So an example would be asking my network, what do you struggle most with in regards to LinkedIn? Creating content, generating leads, building your network, other comment below. From that, it will then reveal to me what they're struggling most with. And then what I can do is I can take those responses and then create a long form post for Friday based on the results of the poll. So that could be just a long form post up to 3,000 characters, or my recommendation is to write a newsletter addition to your LinkedIn newsletter to engage a captive audience. So if you can get yourself into that modality of sending, 15 connections a day, messaging 5 people a day, and producing 3 pieces of content a week, you will have phenomenal results on LinkedIn.
That's great and very practical and sort of applicable. I know that the audience will take a lot away from that and really sort of open their eyes to kind of what's possible just by building a system and making it part of their business, which is something that we always talk about is, when you systemize it and create that process, you'd be really surprised at the sort of compounded results that you get out of that.
Exactly.
So you've dropped a lot of knowledge on our audience today. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, wow, this all sounds great. Clearly, Scott knows what he's doing. If they wanted to engage with you and, sort of, get it straight from the source and learn how to do this better, how do they connect with you?
Well, LinkedIn's always a great place. That's where people can find me. 2 websites. One is our company website, which is www.thetimetogrowth.com. That's where you can find out all about, myself and my wife, Nancy, who run our company. Our 2, I would say, primary programs. One is a group coaching mastermind called Expert Authority. And then we have a foundational course called Expert Foundations for people that are in the pre-launch or beginning stages of business. And then we have our workshops and stuff on there as well. Anyone that wants to learn more about me and what I do with my LinkedIn coaching and consulting, they can just visit scottaaron.net. There's a free download on the homepage to my website to kind of get you guys started with optimizing your LinkedIn profile. You can buy any of my books, listen to my podcast, and that's probably the 2 best ways to find out more about me and how to connect.
That's fantastic. So we'll certainly put those links in the show notes so people have easy access to get in touch with you, Scott. Scott, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show and to share a lot of really valuable and practical information with our audience.
Well, Mark, I appreciate you very much and just grateful for the opportunity. And I hope your audience took a ton away. And I hope they start taking action right now.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining this episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast. We hope you've gained insights to grow your business. If you enjoyed this discussion, please rate, comment, like on your favorite platform, and share to others who will find it useful. Do you know a CEO, founder, or leader at an early stage B2B services, tech, or SaaS company who would like to be a guest and share their story? Send us a note. Let's schedule a conversation.